Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm finally back with the awaited guide for my Poison Ivy build. Let's not dawdle too much, let's jump right into it because I think, in my honest opinion, this build is the strongest poison build out there. So, let's start with skills. Not much has changed since my Ice Queen build. This is basically just a variation where we swapped out Cold Imbuement in favor of Poison Imbuement. So, 1 point into Puncture, Enhanced Puncture, Fundamental Puncture, 5 points in Twisting Blade, Enhanced Twisting Blade, Improved Twisting Blade, 3 points into Sturdy, 3 points into Siphoning Strikes, 3 points in Weapon Mastery, 1 point in Dash, and 1 point in Enhanced Dash. 1 point in Rapid Gambits because, man, I just can't get enough of this talent. Because every time we daze an enemy, we reduce our evade cooldown, and that gives you an insane amount of survivability. So this is really important to have. I actually prefer it over taking Concussive. 1 point in Trick Attacks for some more CC. 1 point in Dark Shroud, Enhanced Dark Shroud, and Subverting Dark Shroud. If you wanna swap this around, you can, and take Countering Dark Shroud instead for some more crit strike chance, which will result in a tiny bit more damage, but the movement speed I like. In general, I like it more for speed farming and escaping messy situations, and you can travel further in your stealth, etc. So that's my pick, but this one I leave up to you. 1 point in Concealment, Stealth, 1 point in Poison Trap because this is a poison build, and 1 point in Enhanced Poison Trap. There is also a variation where you take Countering Poison Trap, but from all the testing that I've done, this procs so low, or I was unlucky, but this procs so low, I find it like a waste of skill point, so I don't recommend this one. 3 points in Exploit, 5 points in Poison Imbuement. Poison Imbuement is our main source of damage, so you want to pump as much points into it as humanly possible. We should be at 12, but I haven't been lucky yet to get an amulet that increases both 3 ranks of Frigid Finesse and all imbuement skills. So at the moment I'm running 9. Enhanced Poison Imbuement, Blended Poison Imbuement, 1 point in Deadly Venom, 3 points in Debilitating Toxins for more damage reduction, and 1 point into Alchemical Knowledge for more attack speed. Because attack speed, well, is fun, and it helps us proc. Our aspects, because a lot of the aspects, a lot of the skills that we're using are based on lucky hit chance. So the more we attack, the more chances to proc it. If you want, this is where you can take the point out, or even from the alchemical advantage. I leave that up to you to put into countering Poison Trap. If you feel like this is too much defensives that you can survive with less, you can even put these points into Concussive for some more damage, but this is my personal recommendation for a very good overall balance between damage and survivability. 3 points into Frigid Finesse. I think this is the best damage modifier in the whole game. Nothing even comes close to it. Basically, everything is chilled, everything is frozen at all times, all around you. So 60% increased damage against frozen enemies is extremely valuable. 3 points in Innervation, 3 points in Trap Mastery, 1 point in Adrenaline Rush, and 3 points in Haste. And our skill passive is Close Quarters Combat this time around, because once again, the attack speed is super important. The damage you get out of this against crowd controlled enemies is through the roof. But you can still, if you want, you can still use momentum. You will just have to change one aspect to take Stolen Vigor to have the healing from momentum, because that's the important part to actually make you immortal. That's like if you're not aiming for some super fastest, like super speed runs, the fastest world fastest runs, etc. You know, you can grab momentum because that's the skill passive that lets you like chill in the game. You know, like there's no way you can fail a key with momentum. You can overheal every poison in the game. You can simply overheal absolutely everything. I was even standing in several poison pools, fighting enemies with momentum, and with like one potion, we overhealed all of that very, very easily. Um, so that's it for the skills. Let's look at the gear. But before I jump into what I am using at the moment, let me just say something in general about rogue itemization. Let's start with armor. The armor cap in the game is, at least according to Reddit post, with a lot of calculations and very nice like graphs, etc. I actually put the description, I'll put the link to this Reddit post in the description so you can see it. So according to that link, the armor cap is 13,000. I'm currently at 9,054 before my disobedience stacks proc, before I get my 60 disobedience stacks, which is 45% increased armor. But this goes from the base armor, not the armor you currently have. Um, so what I'm getting at the moment is 12,500 and a little bit of armor. So we are very close to the armor cap. If I was lucky and got like item level 5 hearts, which are like 5, I mean 50, 50 or 40 armor each. If I was luckier on my rolls on my items, here it's more than 2% on the total armor roll. Here it's 1%. Then I would definitely be able to reach 13,000. So if you can get to like 9,300 uncapped, I mean unbuffed armor, then you can definitely reach the cap. More armor, apart from Paragon boards or like better items in general. Because like my chest, for example, could definitely be like 30 item power higher. My helmet is super low item power, 768. So if like this was like 20 or even 10 item power higher and this was like 30, to bring it around 800, then that's another 100, maybe even more than 100 armor. So that's all we need. So you don't really need, as a lot of people are like thinking, as a lot of people think, you don't really need total armor on your neck. You just need your big pieces, your legs, chest, and helmet at really high item power, like over 800, and you will be able to reach the armor cap very easily. So on the neck, in my opinion, better than total armor. Go for damage reduction when injured. And then that brings us to another topic, and that's damage reduction types. You really only want 2 stacks of each damage reduction type, meaning twice flat damage reduction, twice close damage reduction, twice distant, and as my suggestion goes, 1 damage reduction when injured on your neck. Because damage reduction when injured is really high. On my neck, for example, it's 43.3%, and that helps you a lot. So, now that we got this out of the way, let's look at my gear, what I'm currently using. So, on the helmet, max life, 4 ranks of poison imbuement, all stats, total armor. For the aspects, we go aspect of might for damage reduction. You want to stack as much damage reduction as possible, because this build already has enough damage. You just need to survive. So yeah, I go for all stats because that is the only way to actually help us reach all of our rare nodes that we are using. If you don't have all stats, you can go for cooldown reduction. That's also fine. You will just lose around 100 unbuffed armor. I could go even higher. I could even get one more rare node if I were lucky enough to have this maxed out and on my weapon as well, but I don't have that, so I'm not gonna sweat over it. Um, on the chest, you want damage reduction from distant, damage reduction flat, total armor, damage reduction from close. This chest, apart from being quite a low item level and quite a low roll on the total armor, is pretty much perfect. This is exactly what you want from your chest, and the aspect I'm using here is Shared Misery. There are options you can use here if you don't want to play Shared Misery, but that's my personal recommendation, because I've tested all the other glyphs, and nothing is as good as this one. I mean, not glyphs, aspects. Sorry. You can use enshrouding for some more damage reduction from your dark shroud stacks. It also helps you keep more stacks, or like all 5 stacks on you at all times. You can use quickening fog, but unfortunately this aspect is not really as good as it seems. The way I hoped it would work is that you dash in the enemy. Because we are using pestilent greaves, they are immediately chilled, and so when we drop the smoke grenade, they will also be instantly frozen because of the other aspect we are using. But that's not how it works. You will still daze them, so they will not immediately kill you, but that's about all it does. I don't feel it's as worth as Shared Misery, because Shared Misery is so OP. Like, whenever you're in a fight where more mobs keep spawning, like, you don't even see their model yet. You don't even actually see the enemy. Like, you just see like the health bar, and they are already frozen just because you were already fighting some other enemy, or like a boss with like the teleport. He jumps on you, but because once again you're fighting some small enemy, some quill rat or whatever, he instantly gets frozen, and like you can avoid a lot of damage taken. Plus, you can instantly do the 60% increased damage thanks to 6 stacks of finesse. So that's why I think that Shared Misery is the absolute best. Also, it will spread so much that the ranged enemies will get frozen as well, so they won't be able to attack you. So yeah, that's definitely my recommendation. And the last recommendation here, or like more like the option here, not recommendation, is manglers. If you take manglers and you actually daze enemies with your direct damage, then what I suggest is go into your skill tree, take a point out of improved twisting blades and put it to advanced twisting blades. That will give you a lot of very handy cooldown reduction on your skills, but you will lose some of the survivability and the cool like the cool effect of Shared Misery that I like so much. On our hands, attack speed, lucky hit chance, crit strike chance, 4 ranks of twisting blades, non-negotiable. I think this is the best you can get on your hands. And for our aspect, we're running Frostbitten, so chilled enemies hit by our grenade skills have a chance to be instantly frozen. Which is exactly what I was talking about when I was talking about quickening fog, that it would instantly freeze enemies, but unfortunately it's not how that works. So let's move on. On our legs, what's really important here is that you want your potion to grant you maximum life as a barrier when you're injured. This is super important. Like, just the pure defensive capability of this is maybe even more important than some of the rolls on those legs.
Here we want total armor, damage reduction from close, and usually you would go for damage reduction from distant, the same rolls as on your chest. But I already have damage reduction from distant as well as damage reduction while injured on my neck. As I've said before, you really only want each damage reduction type twice, because even if you have like 20 on your chest, 20 on your legs, it's not gonna be 40. The more you use it, the less effective it gets. So even like double 20 is actually around 34 damage reduction. That's why you don't want to use more than two of the same type, and that's why I personally went for max life. Unfortunately, not very good rolls here, but hopefully at least the damage reduction from close I can get higher than 13. For our aspect, we're going for Umbros. That's how we proc our Dark Shroud. We are not actually using it as our active cooldown on our action bar. And it's just more damage reduction, more defensive, thanks to that. For our boots, obviously, Penitent Greaves. This is a build focused around chilling and freezing enemies. There's nothing better you can get for your boot slot. For our crossbow, for our two-hander, what you really want is crit damage, vulnerable damage. You can go for core skill damage as well, whatever you are lucky to get. And then what's super important here is dexterity, possibly maxed out, and all stat also possibly maxed out, because that's how we reach our rare nodes. All stats super important. You can't really play this build, this precise build, without all stats on your two-hander, because you will miss too much of your rare nodes, meaning too much of your damage and defensive capabilities as well. The aspect here is accelerating, because accelerating aspect actually goes over the attack speed cap. We are already at more than 70% with all of our skills and our Ashiras, so accelerating actually lets us exceed 100%. More attack speed, more lucky hits, means more damage, more healing, more everything. That's exactly what we want. There is no better aspect you can put on your two-hander than accelerating. So for our weapon, we go for daggers, because this is a barber build. Most enemies are healthy and then they're dead, so the damage increase to healthy enemies from daggers and the attack speed of daggers is super strong and important. Vulnerable damage for stats, crit strike damage, all stats, core skill damage. This is what you really want to aim for. If your core skill damage there is low, then high dexterity is way better. Blade Dancers is our aspect that we're using here. What's super strong, kinda busted about poison imbuement is that when the twisting blades orbit around you, when they get back, the damage is not really that big. But that's not what's important. What's important is that they will apply the imbuement, and they apply it at 100% damage. Okay, so that's why like some people are using it on the two-hander. I think that's a big mistake. That's just a damage loss, not damage gain, because this is enough to proc our poison imbuement from the twisting blades orbit at 100% power. For our weapon, we're using Ashira's Conjure. That's pretty much the best dagger in the game, especially for poison builds, especially for any build based on a lot of lucky hit. And yeah, it's a lot of attack speed that we want, damage to crowd control, lucky hit chance, yeah, absolutely everything we might ever wish for from this weapon. For our rings, there are 3 stats you want there at all times: crit strike chance, crit strike damage, vulnerable damage. Then the 4th stat should on one ring be maximum life, on the other resource generation. I wasn't lucky to get resource generation, so I have maximum life twice. Lucky hit would also work there really, really well. For our aspects here, we are using bursting venoms, and on the other ring we are using pestilent points. These two works extremely well together and with the high attack speed that we're using, because bursting venom was previously bugged. When you procced it, even when you stepped out of the pool, you could still use poison imbuement, so it was completely busted. Now it's fixed, so the pestilent points help us proc bursting venoms more. For our hards here, we're obviously going for Barber. I think anything around 3 seconds is really good. You don't want to go for a low, you don't want to go for a Barber that's like 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds or something, because the poison damage actually needs some time to do the damage, right? It's a damage over time effect, so the higher the time that it takes for the Barber to actually explode, the more damage it's gonna do. Here we are using the Vicious Heart that has a lucky hit proc that we launch 6 grenades, do some damage. The damage is non-existent, but what this does is it works with the frostbitten aspect, and it will freeze all the enemies around us. Also, because it's 6 grenades, it will take up like half of your screen, so yeah, you will basically CC and freeze like everything around you like non-stop, so it's pretty good. Unfortunately, it made us lose the heart of trickery, so we no longer have the decoy that taunts the enemies on our trap, so we lost a little bit of defensive capabilities there, but the damage and the fun that we gained out of playing this is, I think, worth it. For our neck, what's super important here is 3 ranks of Frigid Finis, energy cost reduction, and then either total armor, if it helps you reach the cap. If you no longer need total armor, you are already at around 9,300, 9,400 armor, and your disobedience is maxed out like mine, then total armor would be a waste. You'd go over the cap, so you'd just lose some other stats for no reason. So the other stat can be damage reduction while injured. That's what I recommend, because we don't have it on any other item, ideally at least. So having it once on your neck at really high quality like mine, over 40%, is super valuable. And for the 4th stat, what I'd really like to have here is 3 ranks to all imbuements. That's why I said that we should be at 12 ranks of poison imbuement. Actually, 3 ranks of poison imbuement is a difference of around 40% damage on that skill, and 40% is a lot. But well, I haven't been lucky enough to get it, so this is what I roll with. Even though we lost some damage, we still do so much that it probably doesn't even matter. For our heart here, we are using the brutal heart of revenge. The damage that we do when we explode does not really matter. What we're going for here is the damage reduction. So that's about it for the gear. Let's look at the Paragon board now. Okay, so I'll just quickly go over this, just the boards and the glyphs we are using. I'll have the max roll planner in the description down below. I actually have 3 Paragon boards ready for you in case you are missing some of the glyphs. They all have pretty similar damage. Some has like more AoE, some has more single target damage, like more damage to bosses, you kill them faster, you kill them like 10 out of 10 times, like not even once they survive with 5% HP or something. But all of them work extremely well. So let's get right to it. So the first glyph we are using is devious. Then we go for cunning stratagem board where we are using diminish. Then we go to the right for the cheap shot board. That's actually probably the best board Rogue has. Here we are going for combat. We need a crit strike damage because even though the poison damage over time from the imbuement and our traps, etc., cannot crit strike damage, cannot, like, if they crit strike, the damage of it is not increased. Crit strike damage doesn't do anything. The Barber explosion benefits from this, plus we get the 12% restoration of the energy cost when we crit strike, so that's super important, especially for people like me who don't have the resource generation ring. Without this, we'd be, well, doomed. Anyway, let's move on. Here we have the exploit weakness board where we are going for control. Obviously, damage to crowd controlled enemies and damage to slowed or chilled enemies plus frozen enemies is even higher. So, like, this is the bread and butter of any build focused on chilling and freezing enemies. Then we move on to no witness board. Here we are using efficiency, which increases the damage, or like the effect of our imbuement skills, its potency. So that's super important. Plus we have really good rare nodes here, plus flat damage. That's just all of our damage, poison, whatever. That's really good. And bonus max life, which is just more survivability in general. Then we move to another board, which is Tricks of Trade. Here we are using Closer again, more damage, more damage reduction. And our last board here is Deadly Ambush, where we are using Exploit. Most of the enemies we're fighting with are vulnerable, and this helps us spread the vulnerable effect even more, even further. So it's a must-have glyph. Anyway, thanks for watching. That's it for the guide. If you have any question, please go ahead and ask in the comment section. You can also join my Discord. I will have a link for you ready. The Diablo section is a work in progress, but I will have it ready for you real soon. So if you found this guide helpful, if you like the video, please leave a like, sub, or the comment. As I've said before, it will make this 30 years old boomer real happy. So once again, thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Ciao.